Good morning, Hot Sauce. I'm super excited to be kicking off this two-day event in one of the most impressive cities in the world, standing in front of one of the most impressive crowds. Thank you all for being here today. I also want to say a big thank you to everyone who made this event possible today. Our partners, Content Square, AB Tasty, AppQs, SEMrush, and Chili Piper, and Unbounce. And of course, I don't want to forget our incredible Hotjar team who's done an incredible job. I'm very grateful for all your hard work and dedication. Thank you for making this event a wonderful event. Please join me in giving them a round of applause for all the amazing work they've done. So now, let's get into why we're all here today, which is how do we navigate this new era of digital disruption? Consider the following. The last major societal change that we've seen happened around maybe 3 decades ago with the advent of the internet. And before that, it was in the 1940s where computers came to be. We went as a population from researching something to Googling something. We went from writing letters to composing email. We went from calling to messaging. The adoption has been so fast and so wide that there are probably many of you here today in the audience who don't even know a world before the internet. Now, today, we stand at the beginning of another phase of major disruption. But this time, it's happening at a much bigger scale, it's happening a lot faster, and it was all initiated and accelerated by the global pandemic. And unlike the advent of the internet and the computers, this is not just a new era of digital disruption. I believe what we're witnessing here today is an entire renaissance. What we previously deemed to be best practices or industry standards, these are no longer the case. Everything has been turned on its head. Behaviors have changed, needs have evolved, and consumer expectations have been higher than they've ever been. This demands us to revisit, reimagine, and reinvent the experiences that we provide for our customers. To say it in a different way, the new baseline is that there is no baseline. So I personally find the prospect of trying to navigate this new world and this new era to be extremely exciting. And I would imagine each one of you does too, because otherwise you wouldn't be here today. But to be completely honest, I think it can be a little bit overwhelming at times. Whether you're a CEO, you're a product manager, a UX designer, or a marketer, staying in touch with your customers and staying ahead of their needs can sometimes feel overwhelming and challenging. But it is within this challenge lies the opportunity, and this is why we created Hot Sauce. Nurturing that human connection is more essential now than ever, and Hotjar was born from this necessity. Hotjar too, by the way, but Hot Sauce was born from this necessity to rebuild that community and to meet physically and to be able to leverage our collective knowledge. Hot Sauce is also our opportunity to rethink the future of user experiences together. It is our rallying call to bring professionals like yourself to leverage the collective wisdom to be able to turn unpredictability into opportunity and to turn uncertainty into strategic foresight. Whether you're going to be listening to visionary keynotes or you're going to be working side by side with industry pioneers or joining one of the collaborative work sessions, we believe that bringing people together is going to be critical to tackle the challenges that lie ahead of us. Over the next 2 days, we're going to work together to propel this shared mission forward. We're going to ignite an international community of professionals who share this excitement, this passion for shaping the future of tech. But before we launch into conversations about the future, let's take a few moments to look at the state of consumer behavior today. So consumer behavior has changed in the last few years than perhaps the last few decades combined. IBM estimates that the pandemic has fast-tracked the transition to e-commerce by more than 5 years. In the first 2 years alone, there are more than 200 billion in sales that have been generated that wouldn't have otherwise been generated. Unsurprisingly, like this kind of supersonic acceleration has led to the emergence of new trends and new unpredictable user behavior that we haven't seen before. For instance, what we see is that seamless online experiences are fundamental for customer loyalty. I think probably speaking to this crowd, this doesn't seem like a, like a surprise, but I believe what's surprising is that the level of consumer expectation today is higher than it has ever been. A 2023 study by Hotjar found out that 75% of customers would abandon a purchase due to a slow-loading website or a confusing experience. But not only that, 85% of customers, as they are making a purchase, are willing to not only abandon the purchase, but even go to a competitor's website if they find your page difficult to navigate or confusing to use. We've also observed how personal values are driving a lot more of consumers' buying decision today. Forrester reports that over 60% of US and European consumers would prefer to buy from a brand that aligns with their personal values. But not only this, we simultaneously see the opposite as well. We see a lot of consumers who are willing to actively abandon brands that don't align with their values. Euromonitor reports that 24% of Gen Z customers will completely boycott a brand that does not align with their social or political beliefs. Gone are the days where companies could convince customers to, or attract customers based on the idea or just the promise that a product or a service or a brand, captures a specific emotional lifestyle, which creates this necessity for companies to truly dig into and fundamentally understand how to really, map and mirror these values of the customers on a deep level and not just on a superficial level. For example, we've seen many customers today shift their customer loyalties to brands that promote sustainability, such as Patagonia, or customers who actively support brands who have taken a stance against racial injustice, such as Ben & Jerry's. We also observe personalization being this new gateway to expand your audience and generate more revenue. McKinsey reports that companies who applied effectively personalization initiatives have seen the revenue grow by more than 40%. And personalization can mean a lot of things, whether that's localization, whether that's tailored user experiences, curated product recommendations, what have you. This individualization of the experience is forging new pathways for you to be able to convert casual browsers or casual customers into loyal customers over the long term. And finally, perhaps one of the loudest trends of all is how AI is being leveraged and used to enrich and improve the user experience for all the customers. It is reported that over 69% of organizations today have at least one AI project in production. But not only the organizations are doing this, also consumer sentiment has been evolving, where you have more than 50% of users are okay and comfortable leveraging AI to improve their purchase experience or their user experience. But I think it's good to make no mistake here to think that AI is a replacement for this human connection, this human interaction. Euromonitor reports, quote, "Tech hasn't yet matched human nuance. While machines make convenience and speed possible, the power of emotional connections shouldn't be underestimated." So these are some of the many challenges, or the many changes, actually, it's not challenges, that we've seen over the last few years. And I think regardless of your industry, your audience, or your product or the service, I think all of this leads us to one fundamental, pivotal question that we're trying to answer today. How can we strategically harness this information in a way that helps us to successfully navigate this new era of digital disruption? What is that special sauce that we need to make this happen? But to answer this question, it's good to remind ourselves of who, not what, is the reason for us to do what we do. And that reason is our customers. Our customers are and always have been the foundation of our innovation. They are the driving force behind our products, and they are the inspiration for our solutions. As we find ourselves in this whirlwind of tech advancements, we also find it ever more elusive to capture that essence of human connection. which is why we believe that special sauce that we need is simply empathy. Empathy, with its profound capacity to foster human connection, it is that special sauce that we are all looking for. Because at the core of every interaction, people resonate with other people. Empathy enables us to understand and truly feel how someone else is feeling. It allows you to put yourself in their shoes, see the world from their perspective. Empathy is what translates or transforms digital experiences into human interactions. It is what creates that bridge between technology and the needs of human beings. And let's face it, in today's world, with so much division, with political unrest, with social discord, with economic uncertainty, having empathy for each other is no longer a nice to have, it is becoming a must have. But I want to take a moment here to pause and maybe turn this conversation to you, the audience, for a bit of an experiment. So, show of hands, and please do keep your hands up. Raise your hand if you've experienced a setback with a product or a service in the last few months. Yeah? Keep the hands up. Good. Okay, so now raise your hand if you've had a conversation with your team in the last few months about the economic crisis. Yeah, more hands, good. And then finally, raise your hand if you felt disconnected or overwhelmed by the pace of technological change. Okay, so no, keep your hands up. For the people who do not have their hands up, I only have one question. What is wrong with the internet connection? But anyway, jokes aside, let's take a look around. We've only just arrived to this conference today, but we've quickly found common ground. You can see a connection between you and the person in front of you, the person next to you, or the person behind you. And that is really the true power of empathy. Let me give you another example. A few months ago at the Bloomberg Technology Summit, Brian Chesky, the CEO of Airbnb, said that in the post-pandemic world, we are living in one of the loneliest times in human history. Vivek Murthy, the US Surgeon General, describes loneliness as an epidemic that fundamentally affects our mental, physical, and societal health. We as human beings, we crave connection with other human beings. We crave community. We want to be around other people. But during the pandemic, all of this has changed. We sought out online workouts instead of going to the gym. We watch movies on streaming services instead of going to a movie theater. We got our groceries online instead of going to the markets. And while all of these digital alternatives created so much convenience, they have also isolated us as human beings. They casted this dark and lonely shadow over our human interactions. So I believe for us to navigate successfully this new post-pandemic world, I think it's our moral obligation as builders, as innovators, as thinkers, to find solutions that embrace the need for human connection and combine them with the right way in with the digital experiences. But of course, it's not always quite as easy as it seems. The thing is, our brains are actually hardwired for empathy, right? Through this, what they call mirror neurons, we are able to not only perceive, but resonate with how someone else is feeling. So for example, if I had fallen on the stage as I was coming on here for the speech, we would have probably felt a bit of embarrassment too. So if we're hardwired for empathy, why is it so difficult for us to infuse empathy into the products and the services that we provide for our customers? While there are many scientific reasons for that, I'm not gonna try to get into them. I wanna offer you some hurdles from an industry vantage point and maybe some of the experiences we got at Hotjar related to that. One of the prevalent challenges that we have here is this massive surge of new technologies like AI and machine learning, right? And I think it's this race to integrate and use these technologies to improve the experiences for customers is what makes this moment so exciting. But at the same time, we believe that the solution is actually to leverage, not to replace human interactions with the new technologies, but actually use the AI and other technologies to complement and enhance the experiences that we have with other human beings. So what's a good example of this? At Hotjar, of course, we've been, as many companies have, been working very actively to integrate AI into one of our products, which is Hotjar Ask, the customer surveys product. So this AI integration allowed our customers to analyze thousands of customer qualitative feedback in the matter of seconds, but we knew that this is fundamentally no replacement for spending face-to-face time with your customers. And this is why In the same year, we've also released our user interviews product, which allows you to automate very quickly the tedious administrative tasks of recruiting your users, scheduling the interviews, and actually recording and transcribing these interviews, allowing the customers to actually focus their time on what actually matters the most, which is speaking to their customers. We love it when people get value of our product, but it's not always the case. Sometimes you build something, you release it to your users, and the adoption or the engagement is not what you had anticipated. In fact, sometimes it's probably the opposite, where it hurts more than it benefits our customers. This often happens when you lose that perspective of the customer needs, and it's something that we have experienced ourselves last year at Hotjar. We released a feature which we've now retired called Workspaces, and Workspaces was basically built to streamline user workflows by allowing them to better organize team and project data. And despite our initial excitement, fast-tracking the MVP and getting it in the hand of customers, the feature flopped. We saw adoption of less than 5%, and even longer-term retention trends of the feature were even worse. So we said, okay, where did we go wrong with this feature? So we analyzed the data, and what we realized is that we overlooked a very important customer segment, which was single user and single team companies. Because these customer segments, they have no need for additional organization of workflows. And what all this feature did to them is add all this unnecessary friction and all these unnecessary steps, which degraded their experience. We remember Workspaces now today as a learning, not as a win, but it's never a failure to do something like that, because as many of you already know, this is an inevitable part of trying to find solutions that work for your customers. But it's a gentle reminder, I think, for all of us to remember to lead with empathy. Quantitative overload is often a challenge that we also see, where you get too focused on quantitative data like KPIs, conversion rates, OKRs, whatever three-letter acronym that you're tracking these days. But the problem is this sometimes reduces your users into mere statistics. It helps create a bigger divide between the technology and the human needs. So at Hotjar, what we believe the right solution to be is to combine the qualitative data with the quantitative data, using powerful tools like we've built in session replays, heat maps, surveys, and feedback widgets. You're able not only to understand the trends of what is happening in your business, but you also understand the why of something is happening in your business. And then the fourth pitfall I want to talk to you about is overlooking user accessibility. It's something that we often see and can lead to a lot of alienation with your customers and can maybe even lead them to lose trust in your brand. It's a reality that hit home for us at Hotjar also last year when we got customer feedback about the lack or the incomplete accessibility of our surveys tool. One customer told us that they wish they could customize the label feedback because not a lot of their users are familiar with the English words. Another user told us that the colors that we had for the widgets are not actually meeting the accessibility standards for readability. So this made us take a hard look at our product. We revisited a few of the things and we prioritized important accessibility features such as better, like the proper color contrast for readability and keyboard navigation. But what it also did, it sparked a wider change in our product, leading to the translation of the entire product to multiple languages. So when it comes to integrating empathy into user experiences, these challenges are only a few among many, but they highlight just how influential a role that we as individuals play in creating that bridge between technology and humans. But that is also to say that to be able to effectively apply that empathy externally to your product, to your service, to your consumers, you need to be also able to implement it and apply it internally to your team and to your organization. So let's take a moment to talk about what empathy at the workplace looks like. So at Hotjar, as many of you have in the beginning of last year, we had to face the daunting challenge of the economic downturn that has taken the world by a storm, but I think it has impacted tech a lot more than other industries. In the leadership team, we were having many conversations about the trajectory of the company, what are the potential repercussions, what are the actions we need to take, and so on. But we recognized that the team also had a lot of questions. Layoffs were on everyone's mind, financial stability, and so on. We thought that sheltering the team from these difficult conversations would have led to even higher anxiety and worry. So instead, we decided to lean into the empathy. So what that meant for us, being empathetic, was about being transparent. We had transparent and open conversations with the team about the trajectory of the company, the potential repercussions, and also while at the same time reassuring them about the actions we're taking to try to get ahead of any potential market deterioration. The open dialogue was not about trying to have all the answers, quite the opposite. It was about trying to create an environment where we embrace that ambiguity and that uncertainty together and finding a roadmap for the future. It also meant being inclusive. We wanted to make sure that everyone has a voice and everyone feels that they can contribute to the conversation, irrespective of their role or title. And to put this inclusion into action, what we've done is we were giving our team monthly updates and making sure we have an open dialogue where everyone can contribute to the strategies that we're using to actually get ahead of the market deterioration, which enabled us to cultivate a much stronger sense of collective responsibility and team cohesion. But I think above all, what this conversation underscored is a reminder for us all to remember our humanity. Because at the end of the day, people are people. Everyone has their families to worry about. Everyone has their insecurities. Everyone has their worries, their ambitions, their goals and dreams. And just recognizing that in the way we talk with each other has allowed us to create a more compassionate workplace, leading to stronger relationships within the team and creating a supportive culture during a difficult time of adversity. Now, I'm not claiming that we have the magic bullet for mastering empathy. Quite the opposite. There is no such a thing. Empathy demands consistent practice and perseverance. I'm also not claiming that we are doing everything 100% right. As many of you, we make our mistakes and we learn from them. But what I'm certain of is that whenever we were facing challenges and we decided to lean into that empathy, we're able to create stronger connections with our teams and with our customers, and it always has not, without fail, led to better results. Empathy creates the common ground where we recognize we're facing a similar challenge, and through that commonality, we find that we are united by that commonality. And that's really the true essence and the true power of empathy, and that is what makes it that really important special sauce. So now, let's take a moment to look ahead. In the next 2 days, you're going to dig into industry topics like emotional branding, tailored user experiences, and human-centric design. All are topics that are important to empower your businesses and allow you to achieve better results. You'll also participate in discussions around AI, marketing strategy, and product innovation. It will give you a lens through which you can better understand your impact and how you enhance the capabilities to make informed user-first decisions. But perhaps the most important element of the next 2 days is you. It's your insights, your experiences, but also your willingness to engage in these discussions about how we can shape the future together. So, as you move on from one conversation to the other, I encourage you to lean into your empathy. Empathy is that special sauce for our efforts today and for tomorrow. Empathy is what drives meaningful conversations and sparks memorable interactions. And while it sometimes eludes us, as we were just saying, empathy is often hiding in plain sight. So, thank you very much for being here today. I wish you a wonderful conference. And I would like to ask you to help me welcome to the stage our wonderful MC Paradeep, who will be guiding you through the day today.